Anant, thanks for being on a great panel. Very quickly, this is the first Content Marketing Summit. Still some fuzzy areas in terms of what actually this term means. What's your takeaway as of now?
It's going to remain fuzzy. It's going to get increasingly fuzzy, but it's going to be increasingly discussed. I think these are horribly early days, and you can, I think, compare it to the days we first saw the PC, and you said, what can we do with this? It's true, one of the panelists said, content is older than hills. But content in this context that we see today, the ability to distribute, the ability to get feedback, the two-way conversations you can have, I think that's new. And everybody's grappling with looking at the positives and the negatives of this monster. Both are there, and I think what we're going to see is greater conversations. I think it will get sharper. For example, even the way we design the panels will get sharper defined. There's got to be more alignment on each panel. And maybe it'll be each panel will start, or each conference will start talking in depth and not in width. And this one, for example, is width. So maybe you're going to zoom into one part of content. For example, shall we say only social media, for example. How do you create content? How do you get people to... I think we're going to see a lot of depth coming, and width will come from many such conferences or many such conversations. I think that's what we're going to see. But fuzziness, I'm not bothered about. It's very, very early. It will be fuzzy.
You're in an interesting place because you're technically, from the publisher side, you're a journalist, but you cover branding and advertising. So you can see all three of these people converging into the same place. The advertiser thinks he can do the publisher's job. The publisher thinks he can go straight to the client. And today, maybe the client thinks he can bypass both and be a publisher in his own right. So do you think everybody's on each other's turf? Is that a good thing?
No, I don't think everybody's on each other's turf. I think it's an interesting phase when all these... if you do a Venn diagram, if you look at capability and trust, which we discussed about, who is the person who should be trusted most with this? And often in some parts of content, it will be the client. So he will be a content creator. You cannot escape that. And I think there's new realities. It's also a reality of collaboration. This vendor-partner kind of relationship, I think, is going to work less and less. I think there's going to be far greater stickiness in the relationship. I think we might move away from this project kind of contracts and one-year contracts. I think you have to take long-term punts in me if you want me to be your content partner. I've got to get into your DNA, under your skin. I'll have to be an authority in your category as much as you are. So things will change. They'll evolve. And it's going to take some time. I'm not going to rush it. I'll say it's going to take 10 years before all these things get clarified.
One last question, a slightly tricky one, that when products like MediaNet came out, people criticized it as being paid news. But today the same thing is called native advertising and it's suddenly sexy. How does the reader get protected in all of this?
Well, I think there's a huge difference. I think as long as there's enough evidence to say consumers don't have a problem with producer speak, with content generated by a company or a brand. What they have a problem is they don't know that it is produced. They need to know. I think that's a big difference between MediaNet and a lot of things other people are doing. And in certain categories, unqualified, the brand is the most qualified to talk about content in that area. For example, how can any journalist, whichever journalist, the most competent journalist, write more about tech than some guy sitting in Apple? How can he? You can't. At best, we can read 10 books and 20 books and so on and so forth. There's no way we can get that level of knowledge. So I think we will see more of brands being upfront when they're paid for the content, or they've commissioned the content, or they're sending out the content without any interference by any editorial point. I think that will happen. They will be upfront, and I will say, I want to read this content created by Colgate because I believe Colgate knows more about teeth than anybody else. And then it's an involved opt-in, and that'll be a big change.
Thank you, Anand. Thanks.